Oh my God. Hello, Internet. Welcome to the 192nd edition of the Comic Watchers Show. I'm Matt. This is Chad. And returning to the show, we have very, very special guest. Old Gray Cody himself, the professor, is here. Cody, how the hell are you?
I'm doing... muted myself. You're doing great, Matt.
Good. It's good to see you, even if you are pixelated and cutting out a little bit.
I apologize. It's not so great this time of day, but definitely wanted to be here. I was here for the first episode.
You were. You might as well be here for the 192nd. So why not? Right? So it is Thursday, July 20th, the year of our Lord 2023, and it is day one of San Diego Comic-Con 2023. We're going to talk about this year's Eisner nominees, which will be which will be announced tomorrow, and the news that's come out so far from the show. I think the big thing so far, really just kind of looking broadly, is how many movie studios pulled out of SDCC this year on the front side. That's really changed the makeup of what the con is. And I think some people, some people would say that it's not necessarily a bad thing because we're getting a little bit more emphasis on the comics themselves rather than the movies and TV adaptations. What do you guys think about that?
We're ashamed that should have to do something like that at a Comic-Con, talk about comics.
I know, right? It's madness. But Marvel pulled out, Sony pulled out, Warner Brothers is a dumpster fire anyway. Everybody is just there. So it's like comics. What a concept.
I get it from both sides. The whole point of San Diego for the last 20 years or so has been as a vehicle for Hollywood, right? You're right there.
Absolutely.
San Diego is only an hour and a half on the road from Hollywood. So, I mean, it's been a vehicle for major comics movie news, more so than comics news. And you get your comics news at C2E2, Emerald City, New York Comic Con. Like, it's just kind of not what San Diego is. I mean, I was at San Diego last in 2005, and even in 2005, prior to MCU, it was more about transmedia information than it was about comics. So you're losing that con. You're losing the con that is focused dominantly on media. And that's problematic, I think, for all of us, because media is what props up the major publishers, the major players in the game, right? Because there's no money in comics. We all know this, right? Nobody's getting rich making comics. Todd McFarlane, end of list.
Yeah.
So it's problematic on that front. But also, like, I do love the idea of San Diego getting back to its roots and being a Comic Con again.
Yeah,
but
most definitely.
I assume attendance is down. I could.
Oh, sure.
I'm not there.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. is not, and Chris Evans aren't there. So, I mean, probably. And it's not like these studios. Big information and announcement orgies are just going away, right? They're going to do their own things. I mean, Disney already has D23, and
you have Star Wars Fest or whatever.
Star Wars Fest, yeah, where they'll announce the next baker's dozen of Star Wars projects, and whatever else. I'm drawing a blank right now, but that sort of stratification of the information is kind of one of those things that feels like it's been inevitable for at least the last 10 years or so, as the various studios have been more and more at daggers drawn with one another, especially in terms of IP. So Obviously, the Mouse House is the big player and always the biggest player, and probably always will be. But it would be interesting to see some of these other studios, or just some, doing their own thing, whatever that looked like.
Mm-hmm. Well, it makes me kind of wondering, if this goes on, what New York is going to look like.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of the press junkets are shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and two, I mean, New York being the last big con of the year has traditionally been the one where the most announcements are made for the following year. Now we're getting drips and drabs of that already at SDCC. Like, we've gotten some X-Men stuff come out of the works. Looks like there's going to be a new, quote unquote, new X-Men book launching next year after Fall of X. And Chad, I don't know if you caught this, but the font for the logo is the same font that they used on Astonishing X-Men from the original Age of Apocalypse.
Oh, I don't think I've really had a chance to look at it
right away. And I it might just be a nostalgia play, but maybe it's not. Mm-hmm. And I'm here for it either way. I'm
going to have to change my templates.
Right. We did get a really weird announcement on what's essentially a planetary reboot coming out of DC, which is, and I know Cody will agree with me, a fantastically stupid idea. Yeah, I think Jackson Lansing announced this on his Twitter. It's got Batwoman and somebody with a drumstick and somebody dressed up all in white like Elijah Snow. It's 12 issues of quote unquote deep diving into the pop culture of whatever, which
I think
there's 27 perfect issues of Planetary that do this. So
I think they're just trying to place characters, because even catching up on Night Terrors, I just like Ravager is in Stormwatch now, huh?
Yeah, that story has been playing out in Brave and the Bold.
Okay.
Yeah. That didn't just come out of nowhere. And I know, I'm trying to remember what DC one-shot it was that set it all up. But yeah, it was earlier this year or late last year. So that, and it's Ed Brisson writing it. I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah. No, I actually enjoyed it. It's one of the tie-ins, of the many tie-ins that I've been. This is the first thing I've seriously read in a couple years.
Okay. Cody, we were just talking about the stupefyingly bad idea of rebooting Planetary. And
so let me tell you, Planetary is my all-time number one favorite comic of all time. I wrote my senior honors thesis at University of Hawaii on the first 6 issues of Planetary. It took me 7-8 pages to discuss the first 6 issues. The notion of rebooting it in less than half as many issues with none of the main characters doesn't make any GD sense to me. I cannot imagine what editor was sitting here and said, "It's a great idea. Let's get Jaquita Wagner out of there. Let's put in Kate Kane." I love Kate Kane. I love her Batwoman.
Yeah, she's awesome.
No, this doesn't make any sense. I assume that's Jackson being Elijah Snow.
It looks like Jackson King.
Doesn't make any sense. I kind of thought that was Zatanna at first, kind of like magic wand, until you get a drumstick.
Yeah, I did not realize that was a drumstick at first, and that's when the pieces fell into place for me, and I just felt absolutely horrified.
And I cannot. I'm totally open to a female version of the drummer. I don't mind at all.
Right.
I assume that because the other two are. No.
He's having Chad problems.
Yeah. Bottom line, terrible idea.
Can you hear me back?
We lost him again. Okay, well, bottom line, rebooting, Planetary stupid. We got an announcement of what maybe is going to be a one-shot, following up Cy Spurrier's Uncanny Spider-Man with Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
That is allegedly going to retcon his origins again. This will be at least the third time that's been done. Maybe it's it just kind of based on the fact that it's X-Men Origins, it makes me feel like it's going to be a one-shot, kind of like they were doing with the giant size X-Men one-shots for a little while. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand Cy Spurrier's continued want to write Nightcrawler, because he seems to hate the character and hate him in a way that he doesn't understand the character.
Yeah. Also, looks like we've got the next DC event.
I had not seen this one yet. Do tell.
It's DC and Legendary Comics. Looks like Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
The horror movie, Heroes and Monsters Collide.
I didn't realize it was an event.
It looks like it's an event. I mean,
I just assumed it was like a miniseries or something.
I don't know. I'll have to read the presser more.
Do we know who the creative team on it is?
Let's see. I'm looking at it now. Brian Buccellato.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
And Christian Deuce.
Yeah, they're fine. I don't think I would choose them to anchor an event series, so that probably just means it'll be a standalone. But that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to stand alone. There's no way that they're going to base an event around characters that are their own IP.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, anything else, Chad, that's popped up out of the first day?
Did we talk New X-Men yet?
We briefly mentioned it.
I love the typeface.
Yes,
and I love
you caught it too.
Yeah, and I love the reveal that Krakoa will fall, because it's about damn time.
I mean, they've been. I mean, that's happening in like a week and a half in Hellfire Gala, I'm sure.
Right.
Like I've had this pet theory for a while, because the nature of storytelling being what it is, like they've been having Krakoa and the mutants, continue to aspire, and it's very much their wings are going to melt very quickly.
They're flying too close to the sun. Time to knock them down a couple pegs.
Yes, exactly. And my guess is Krakoa is going to be destroyed, and the mutants will be spread all over the globe, feared and hated like never before for their hubris.
In the way that they were always meant to be?
Absolutely.
like that was my biggest problem with the Krakoa. That's why I burned out on it so fast, is because it was such a drastic departure of everything that made the X-Men relatable to comics fans of at least of our generation.
Sure.
Right? Like slightly outcast, slightly off the beaten path. We're not the popular kid. And then all of a sudden comics were popular. So that didn't work as well in theory. But they took it, like, they made it too normalized. And the Krakoa era, I feel just got stale really, really fast.
I mean, I personally disagree with that, but I do see where you're coming from. I think, to me, so if you kind of look at the classic take on X-Men as the oppressed underclass, the message has always been divvied up between Xavier, peaceful coexistence, and the more forceful Magneto views, right? If we're just going to do a binary take on it. And the Krakoa has just been like, we don't care about coexisting. We're just here and you're going to have to accept it. And that you're just going to have to accept it is very much in line with the current generation of LGBTQ. So I think that what we're seeing is more of an updating of the metaphor for a more modern audience.
I can see that, but where it falls apart is when you separate them from the greater society, right? Once they move to Krakoa and say, we're going to exist whether you like it or not, and oh yeah, by the way, we're going to make all your dreams come true and exist in a vacuum away from you.
Well,
that's where you start to run into problems of the metaphor. The metaphor starts to melt.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I think that's deliberate, though.
I don't think it's deliberate. I think it's happy accident that it worked out in the way that it did.
It really could be.
I don't think it's deliberate. Like initially, the mutants as Jews metaphor as one of the stronger metaphors for X-Men over the years really fell apart in that notion of the Jews as a migratory people, right? Like people without a homeland, people without a country. So when they found their country, all they do is separate themselves from the people that hate them. And that's not an answer for acceptance, for coexistence, for forceful or peaceful coexistence. It's an answer for existence, but I just don't think it works. No, the LGBTQIA plus community is not trying to retreat to, I don't know, some Mediterranean island and live on their own. They're trying to exist amongst the current populace. This is the same kind of rhetoric that we saw during pre-Civil War era. They were like, let's ship all the slaves back to Libya or Liberia. I think it was Liberia. Something that had to do with the root word. And
well,
then,
Liberia was supposed to be the country for them.
Yeah.
Right. Everything it's not this.
We're losing Cody again. Cody,
I'm sure he's saying something smart
right now. But I mean, we'll have to leave it there for now. I do think that, kind of coming back to where we started, like the fall of X has been broadcast pretty loudly for a while, and I'm glad to see that storytelling narrative fruit is beginning to show itself. That's what I'm here for. Is, hey, here's the third act. What happens after that? It's a new story. So
yeah.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into what we were here for, and that is this year's Eisner Awards. I think that this has got some pretty interesting nominees this year. I I'm gonna kind of just Chad. I'm gonna kind of just stick to the bigger categories so that we
That's
don't.
fine.
And I'm just gonna go down. I'm gonna actually start with best continuing series. And I'd like you guys' thoughts on this because I feel like there's some real misses and some very interesting choices in the best continuing series category. So we've got Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky et al. Department of Truth by James Tynion and Martin Simmons, which I would absolutely nominate personally. Philadelphia by Rodney Barnes and Jason Sean Alexander. Nice House on the Lake, which really should have been under the best limited series category in my opinion. But it was really good. Nightwing, yeah, okay. It's the feel good. It's the crowd pleaser. And weirdly, She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell, which makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, I'm reading it. It's not terrible or anything, but
I'll tell you exactly why She-Hulk got nominated.
I'm listening.
White dude, black dude, white dude, black queer female. Like, I hate to pull that card, but they have to realize when they're doing the nominations, the absolute glut of white dudes getting nominated over and over and over again.
Actually, that's a fair point that I think we talked about that a couple years ago when it was like very, very, very white across the board.
Yeah, and I mean, this year's nominees are also incredibly white across the board.
Yeah.
And I mean, the panel isn't stupid. Sometimes we might think they are, but they're not. They're actually very intelligent, and they're looking at it and they're saying, "Oh shit. Well, if we can't cut this, we can't cut this, and we can't cut this, we have to put something else in." And that's what ends up happening. And it sucks. And it's no knock on She-Hulk or Rainbow. It's a book that I'm not personally reading because I don't read She-Hulk, but it just kind of is what it is.
Continuing series that's getting a new number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Right. And totally agree on the Nice House on the Lake. Like, Nice House on the Lake is fantastic. It's a great book, but it's not a continuing series.
Yeah, it was billed as 12 issues from the start.
Right.
Like, that one makes absolutely no sense to me.
I thought best continuing series was if there was one book that I felt it was omitted, besides Saga, because I'm sure that's like voter fatigue.
Right. Saga can only win so many times. Saga, let me tell you, Saga will be back when it someday wraps.
Yep. Yeah. Or I could see it being in the next year. But what's the first one here? Currently, the best continuing series that I'm reading, and it's
I say again because you're cutting out again.
First place from here from Matt Rosenberg and Tyler.
Oh yeah.
It's better right now, and it's not even particularly close. New issue drop. I didn't read it.
I had a feeling that would be a Cody comic. I read the first two issues, and it just didn't click with me. But I immediately said, I know who will like this.
Now I have a question. Should Daredevil even be in this category? Because it was restarted. It just launched recently with the new number one. And it's only like on issue 10 or something.
13.
13. Oh, sorry. 13.
Yeah, next month's issue is the finale to Zdarsky's run.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of hard today when there's always a new number one every.
It does make it kind of tricky. I would personally, and this actually kind of bleeds over to the best new series category. I would personally have put Local Man by Tony Fleece and Tim Seeley in there.
Yeah.
What an incredible book. Oh, we lost Cody again, but okay, his audio was just like gone. And it didn't get nominated for Best New Series either, which I think is a huge omission. Because it's just phenomenal. But out of these, and Philadelphia has been fine for a while. I'm behind on it. I think it's really good. I think it beats its metaphor a little too hard, though not as hard as Bitterroot did, which won the shit out of some Eisners. So maybe the Eisners just like books with really heavy-handed metaphors. I mean, Chad, which of these books do you think is going to win?
I don't know. I think I know it sounds like it's the easy answer, but I think Tom Taylor has really done some really interesting stuff with Nightwing, and
I agree.
kind of revitalized. Not I don't say revitalized this character, but he's taken the character different places and done different things with the way he presents the story.
Yeah, he's taking some good storytelling chances and going to new places with the character that seems to really be resonating with fans because these things ring true for the character.
And isn't there a three-legged dog?
Yes, that
Nightwing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I do. I think that Nightwing's going to be the winner. It's the crowd pleaser.
Yeah, it's the easy answer.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on, best single issue and one shot. We've got Batman: One Bad Day, The Riddler by Tom King and Mitch Gerads. Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond by Jed McKay and C.F. Vila. And hey, Sean from the Life Show is here. Whoop, 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 whoop.
I made it.
It's the second great crossover between us and the vastly more successful Caption Life Show.
He's been on here before.
Yeah, he's slumming with us. Moon Knight, Black, White, Red, and Blood, number 3, edited by Tom Brevoort. Star Trek, number 400, edited by Heather Antos. Whoop, whoop. And Vicious Circle, book 1, by Mattson Tomlin and Lee Bermejo, which seems really weird to me because, again, this is meant to be a miniseries. I don't know why they would put this in this category. But whatever. First of all, what do you guys think about this lineup for best single issues and one shot? Cody, we know what you think about the Tom King one shot. However, I have a feeling it's going to win. So, go ahead.
I really don't know because I've only read the Batman one shot, One Bad Day, and the Moon Knight. So,
Sean, what do you think about these choices for best single issue and one shot?
I was just thinking about. I think the only one I've actually read is the Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler. But I mean that one was fantastic. Like it was probably my second, or I think my second favorite one of the One Bad Day series. But it was a great one that it started off with, and I think it got a lot of people, talking excited about the series because of that issue. So if it wins, I can see why, because it was really done very well. I can't really compare it to the other four because I haven't had a chance to read the other four yet. So
I think that the Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond one shot was a really weird choice. I haven't read it. Mm-hmm. And, Jed McKay is always, it seems to be a pretty solid fan favorite across the board. I love his Moon Knight run. I actually kind of wish that it had gotten the best continuing series nod.
Right.
Quiet cat. But I hate to say it because Cody's gonna be sad, but I really think that Batman One Bad Day, The Riddler is probably gonna win this one.
It's a loaded category. One.
It is.
And two, in the era of like modern comics, single issues and one shots are typically either vehicles to expand a story, not tell a new story, or to tell some kind of throwback bullshit throwaway story, right? Like,
Right.
Or to
You
give
know.
new talented shots.
say again?
Or to, just give new talent,
Yeah,
exposure.
exactly.
Yeah.
We'll give you a one shot to try out what you have to offer, or we'll give an aging star an opportunity to tell a story where maybe like they don't have the energy to do a monthly book. Monthly books are exhausting. But maybe they've got one story in them. Maybe Peter David has one symbiote issue in him that he wants to tell, or one Hulk story he wants to tell.
Or finish his run, or finish the story he wanted to tell.
Right. So, I mean, like, the category at the start is already faulty. And then they filled it with a bunch of stuff that most people probably didn't read. Like, most people probably did read the Batman one. Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood #3.
What's so special about that?
I don't know. It doesn't say anything about who worked on it, what the stories were.
Yeah.
It's an anthology book, so
I assume
I think it had 3 stories in it.
Yeah.
This
But
was
why
the
number
one-
3? Like, what was so special about number 3? We don't know.
It's a super weird flex. Like a couple years ago when it was the Tom Taylor Batman annual with Alfred. It was like a Father's Day issue or a Father's Day special. Like that was a clear cut, this was a single issue that was absolutely phenomenal. Most of these just don't seem to have that. The Star Trek 400, I highly doubt that anything particularly special happened in Star Trek 400. I didn't read it, obviously. Heather is a great editor. But come on now. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, again, they're just like weirdly diluting the category by including the first issue of a miniseries. Like, don't be dumb. I mean, if you're going to have this category, use this category. I bet there was a wealth of one-shots from independent publishers that nobody heard of, but were really good.
Right.
Like, show them some attention. If you're like, don't just make... Again, Mary Jane and Black Cat Beyond. What? Why?
I would love to know what's the criteria they use to kind of determine what what they nominate for single issues, just because, just like you said, like it's weird that, the majority of them are from the top tier publishers, but there's other top tier publishers that didn't make that list. Right. And there's just a lot of them that I would have thought would have at least been a big contender. But like you said, I haven't read the other ones, but I just felt like it was a little bit surprising because I felt that there are other ones I saw that got a lot of attention and, got critical acclaim and things like that didn't make this list. I was just kind of really very fascinating by the whole process of, to try, because now that, the publishing venue has been kind of widening and each of the publishers are doing more and more properties and more stories, that kind of widens among, the types of stories and characters and the genres even. Like, we did, I remember doing the horror comic. Oh, what's the one? It's escaping my mind, but it's one that the Harrower. Absolutely love that series. I'm not a horror genre person at all whatsoever. I don't like the horror genre, but that was done so beautifully well that as somebody who doesn't like horror, I absolutely love that story. And so it's just really fascinating how there are things like that didn't seem to make the cut, and you get something, like this kind of list, and it's not a bad list necessarily, but it's just really surprising that, I would have thought some other ones would have got on there and just didn't. So
yeah, absolutely. So I think despite protestations, we all kind of agree that Batman One Bad Day the Riddler will probably win this.
Probably
100%.
Okay. We got Cody's grumbling
Just slap Tom King's name on it.
All right, moving on. Best limited series: Animal Castle by Xavier Dorson and Felix Delep. Don't know them. Delete, maybe? Forgive me. Batman One Bad Day as a whole. Human Target by Tommy King and Greg Smallwood, which, if we could nominate it just for the art, shoe in for sure for me. Miracle Man by Gaiman and Buckingham, The Silver Age, and then Superman Space Age by Mark Russell. Woo! Michael Allred and Laura Allred. Guys,
I hope that one wins.
Which one?
For what it's worth, I did vote in this year's Eisners, and I did vote for Superman Space Age.
I think that's super interesting. Forgive my wordplay. Super interesting because that is the rare swing and a miss from Mark Russell for me.
I thought
really?
it was fine.
Really?
I thought that they gave me two projects that I don't want anything to do with. One that I don't know anything about, and one that should have won an Eisner in 1984. Like, why is Miracle Man? One, why is it called Miracle Man and not Marvel Man? Like, if you have the rights to call it Marvel Man, why not call it Marvel Man?
Because everybody
The
knows
whole
it as
point.
Miracle Man.
That's because they did. That's because Marvel sued them. Like, it's absolutely insane that they're like, well, we're still going to call it Miracle Man, even though we're not going to sue ourselves over this. And then we're going to
All right,
reprint
good night, buddy.
one of the greatest comic stories of all time in 2022. And it's going to get nominated for an Eisner? Like, this is insane. This is a Hall of Fame nomination.
Yeah, it feels that way. It's interesting to me, and I think it's worth noting that when you've got all these independent publishers out there, like Boom, just to pick on one, that publish like 90% miniseries, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them of the nominees are published by the big two.
Right.
And I've been meaning to read Animal Castle because I think it's like Animal Farm.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I honestly don't know anything about it.
I've seen it. I've been meaning to, read it, but just kind of.
Mascot has joined the chat.
Yeah, it's either this or he meows. So, I mean, and again, I'll go back to Boom for a second, but Behold Behemoth, one of the best first issues I've read in years, and the rest of the miniseries was pretty fucking awesome too. 20th Century Men over at Image from Dennis Camp, or hell, Agent of World, also by Dennis Camp, and I'm on a Dennis Camp kick very suddenly because he's awesome. But all of these smaller publishers are just dying to get heard because they're putting in the work of promoting new talent through miniseries because it's their bread and butter, because it will get collected in trade, and only Animal Castle from Ablaze gets, and that's
right.
That's bullshit. I really liked the Batman, most of the Batman One Bad Day one shots, but I wouldn't have.
It's not a miniseries. Like, that's the thing. Like, they're all like one shots. Like, they're all their own story. The only common thing they had is that Batman's in it. You can't have Batman One Bad Day without Batman in it. But it's not a miniseries. It's just a collection of one shots.
It's a series of one shots, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
honestly, that really threw me off when I saw that, because it was just like they don't stand together. It's not like they build on top of each other.
Yeah, they're not a unified team. There's not a loose plot thread running through all of them.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Let's say for a second that we're all nerds here. We're all collectors. If you're filing this into your boxes, are you going to file Batman One Bad Day under continuing series, miniseries, or one shots?
I'm just filing it under Batman. Like that, I don't put it by series. I just put it by title.
I would honestly put it under my Batman Miscellaneous is where it is now. which is where all of my miniseries and various one-shots fall.
I would put it in the miniseries or limited series. I mean, I guess the connecting theme is all the villains are supposedly having a bad day.
Or giving a bad day or whatever. I don't know.
Look, all my preludes to the wedding that didn't happen are in one shot. They're in one shots. That's where they belong.
Now, I tell you what, I think the Human Target is very deserving of being on that list because that is a great story.
And I suspect it's going to win.
Yeah. Like, so Anthony Bergamini was the one that suggested doing that as a review for the Caption Life. I've never read anything or know anything about the character, right? But when I read that, I couldn't put it down. It was just so fascinating from the story perspective, from the art, the artist really captured that 60s spy style, but made it modern. It's such a great piece of work just from that point alone. Regardless of how well the story was, the story was fantastic, but the artwork was just phenomenal. So, I think just like what you said, Matt, I think it's, if it doesn't win, I'll be very surprised, but it doesn't surprise me that it made that list.
Yeah. I want to say that differences of opinion on Tom King aside, Greg Smallwood's art elevates the whole thing.
Yeah,
it does.
There's no getting around that.
For sure. Agreed.
So I think one of these days I have to assume that he's getting better as a writer. Because, practice makes better.
He's
always been hit or miss for me for some reason.
I'm enjoying Danger Street, but I'm also a huge sucker for Z-list characters.
Right.
So, the very premise of it is just catnip for me.
Right.
Well, he's best on Z-list characters because they don't have a pre-established personality because he can't write a personality other than his own. At least in my experience with his writing. You could put Vision into the Mr. Miracle series. Be the same story. It'd be fine. Nobody would care. It'd still be just as good or bad as it was. And it just is what it is. Some people can only write what they know. But he can't write Batman. He can only write Bruce Wayne. That's fine. Just own it, man. Just own it. That's all I ask.
Sure. And in fairness, he's very far from the only writer that has that quality.
Right.
Oh, for sure. He's just the most
my favorite writer, Garth Ennis, only writes Garth Ennis. And same with Ellis.
I'm not sure that's true.
But Cody, I think you make an excellent point. We don't have, at least not to my knowledge, we don't have a lot of stories where it's just Bruce Wayne outside of Batman, and so I think if he can write Bruce Wayne really well, I think there's some potential. I mean, I say that knowing that Batman is one of those series that there's always 20 series out of Batman at one time from DC Comics, and I know I get sick of how many series of Batman there are out there, but I think it's interesting to have someone maybe write about that kind of persona of a hero where it's not about the hero, but it's about the alter ego of that person, right? And I think there's a lot of potential to be able to maybe tell that story and not have to tie in the superhero part of it as a limited series. It would only work as a limited series because people will be expecting, the action at some point. But I think you could do a limited series and really tell a really good story of the alter ego of a hero, right?
Yeah,
totally
I would
agree.
read the shit out of that if it was in the right hands.
Yeah, right.
So, okay. Best new series. We've got one that's a mystery to me here, guys. The Atonement Bell from Red 5 by Jim Owsley, not that Jim Owsley, Cody, and Tyler B. Ruff. Love Everlasting, which should be under miniseries, but for whatever reason isn't, by Tom King and Elsa I hate French words.
Chatier.
Thank you. Public Domain by Chip Zdarsky. Star Trek by Kelly Lansing and Ramon Rosanas. And Traveling to Mars by Mark Russell and Roberto Mailey. I gotta tell you, if public domain does not win, something is fucking wrong. Like, I'm coming out swinging on that one.
Yeah. That was a really good one.
The omission of Local Man.
Yes.
I'd have to check and see when it was published. It may not have been in the window, but
It
Local
had
Man's
to
the
be
best.
published in the calendar year of 2022. Right?
Yeah, I'm not positive when Local Man started. It might
Okay,
have
so
been
that's
January.
what it is. Its first issue didn't come out till February or March, so it'll probably be on next year's. Good catch there.
Good.
What constitutes a best new series? Because when I'm looking at this, I'm like, Star Trek has been around.
But this is
it's a new number one.
Yeah.
Okay. So Daredevil could have been on this.
Actually, it was when Chip Zdarsky first started it.
Yeah.
A couple years ago.
Right.
So
and then when they restarted after Devil's Reign, it could have ended up on that again.
That was exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. So all it has to do is it has to have a number one within the year that it gets nominated.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I get it.
Yeah,
Interesting, but I get it. Yeah.
That's how Black Widow by Kelly Thompson.
Yeah.
Was
maybe they should
nominated.
split that into like best new series where it's like brand new, it's never been done before for that property, and like best like
I would love
restarts
that.
or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that would make a lot more sense to me, like to kind of split it up because like best new series, if you're just telling a brand new story and you're going up against something like, Star Trek, that like that can be something that gets, dwarfed a little bit because of that, kind of imbalance between what constitutes a new series and this one technically counts because
or a
it's
new
number one
volume, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, public domain almost seems like it was genetically engineered in a lab to win Eisners. It's such a great love letter to comics and the creation of comics and to creators' rights. Like, come on. Anybody going to disagree with that?
He took all the emotions that creators probably feel and just made it its own character. Like that's what I really loved about it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
I mean, that's Chip's best strong suit, right?
Uh-huh.
His best strong suit is to personify emotion into a character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that's what he does better than almost anybody in the business right now.
Damn.
So
that's a good point. I had never considered that, but you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's a no-brainer. I think it speaks volumes to the year we just had that the best new series list looks as it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, damn, I can't think of anything better. Bloodshot Unleashed. But honestly, like, I can't think of a whole lot of books that should replace anything here.
Yeah.
And that's not a good feeling. That's not a good look for the industry. And I know that next year it's going to look a whole lot different because DC has all the new number ones right now.
Yep.
But
Stand by Mark Wade. Let's do it. 2024.
wait a minute. When did World's Finest launch? Because
It's a year and a half mark.
Yeah, because it just released, I think, issue number was
13.
19 or something like that.
yeah, so it should have launched in the last calendar year.
Right.
And if that's omitted, that is a major problem because
Absolutely.
that book is goddamn brilliant. Every issue is absolute fire.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Okay, so I did a quick Google search. It did launch in late 2022.
Wait, 2021.
I was about to say 2021. Yeah.
Not according to DC's fandom, or DC's wiki page.
Yeah, but who runs the wiki page? Like, is the fandom DC one?
I think
I do.
I do. He's gaslighting you. He went in and made that change real quick.
That's right.
Cover date was May 2022.
Okay.
So
that sounds right, and it should
Yeah.
have been nominated. It's insane that it wasn't.
yeah, absolutely. Huge.
So-
This is Dan Mora's finest work to date. Like, it's every issue is just phenomenal.
I mean, it might say Batman Superman on the cover, but it's basically the ultimate love letter to DC since Kingdom Come. Which
100% agree.
coincidentally also had Mark Waid in it. So
Right.
maybe I'm biased.
So, quick story, because since you guys think Chip Zdarsky is going to win, 2015, I'm sitting at the Harvey Awards. I'm sitting with Ryan Brown, God Hates Astronauts, 8 Billion Genies.
Okay.
And he and Chip are, up for the same best humor because Chip had Sex Criminals. And he goes, I'm just texting Chip because I know he's going to win. And this was before they announced it.
At least he's a good sport about it.
No, he was.
That's funny. All right, best writer. Grace Ellis, Flung Out of Space. Not familiar with that one. Are y'all? Tommy King for Stuff. Mark Russell for Stuff. James Tynion IV for Mini Stuffs, and Chip Zdarsky for a couple different things. So,
I have a question. Why is One Star Squadron listed under Mark Russell? Because it was a couple years ago.
No,
it wrapped up beginning of last year.
Okay.
yeah,
all right.
It did just barely make the cut, but it made it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hate to say Tom King's name, but I feel like it's probably gonna come down to either him or Tynion. What do you guys think?
Russell or Chip. That's.
I'm pulling for Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, don't get me wrong. If Chip or Mark win, I'm a very happy camper. I feel like Tynion kind of overstretched himself a little bit with projects this year. Like, I've liked all of his stuff, except for The Closet, which just didn't resonate for whatever reason, but maybe I need to read it in collection. But I don't know. Like, he just didn't hit me like Mark Russell or Chip Zdarsky did this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, the Tynion stuff, for me, I didn't care for House of Slaughter. It just didn't grab me. Something is Killing the Children didn't grab me. Wind didn't grab me.
Yeah, Wind.
I'm
not the audience for Wind.
Yeah, Nice House
Another
on the Lake
thing,
was
in fairness.
great. The Nightmare Country was okay,
Fine.
but it wasn't great.
Yeah,
So,
it didn't scream, "Oh my God, this is the best writing all year."
Yeah, he's a fantastic writer. Don't get me wrong, and
Yes.
please,
I think
don't come for me.
I kind of think he surpassed his mentor Scott Snyder at this point.
I don't know if I go that far, but but I think he's a great writer.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy his work in general, but most of these books were not books that jumped out to me as, oh my God, you have to read this, other than Department of Truth, really.
Yeah, Department of Truth was like, I will put this in everybody's hands.
And that's, again, kind of part of the problem with the category and the nominees we have here. Because every single one of them has books that I would read and books that I wouldn't.
Yeah, for sure.
And they don't have...
I mean, Mark Russell, have you read, it hasn't finished yet, but did you read Traveling to Mars, Cody?
I only read the first issue. And
Holy shit, that comic will destroy you. It might be the best thing he's ever written by the time it's done.
Very possible. It's a very good book. I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah.
But One Star Squadron was a book that blew me away.
Yes.
That was fun.
It was fun, but also it had this like super dark, and I'm full disclosure, I'm an Army vet. And it has this very brilliant undercurrent of what it's like to be a disposed civil servant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You serve, you do your part, and then you get done, and you're like, what are my marketable skills?
Yeah.
I'm really good at the thing that I was doing, and nowhere in the civilian world does that fit.
Yeah.
And it
Exactly.
captures that very beautifully in a way that really resonated with me. I thought it was just an absolutely brilliant book.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the thing I like about his work is, there's always that, there's the story, but then there's the deeper, subtext, social justice,
Yeah.
makes you question.
Absolutely. Yeah.
While we're talking about Mark Russell, hey Chad, you want to try to not be the bottom of the fantasy football league this year?
No.
Chad and
No.
I are in a fantasy football league with Mark Russell, and
Chad, if
has
you're
absolutely
not Chad, if
stunk
you're
us
gonna bounce out, I'll jump in and be at the bottom. Just so I can say I was in a fantasy football league with Mark Russell.
Well, just I don't know if I'm considered his stalker, but it's always nice he's always great to talk to, and
Oh, yeah.
so
Yeah.
He's a genuinely good human being.
Yes.
And that's rare in this industry these days.
That's
So
rare in general.
absolutely celebrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to briefly touch on the best writer artist category because Zoe Thorogood is in it for It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, and she has a new voice. I hope she is the correct pronoun. If it's not, forgive me. I do think it is they, now that I think about it. They're a new voice, and they just kind of like came in and got nominated for 5 different things?
Yep, 5.
Insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Zoe, where have you been? Oh, you're like a baby. I cannot wait to see what more Zoe Thorogood does.
Mm-hmm.
And now I also need to get a copy of It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth.
I just ordered a copy myself a couple of days ago.
Awesome. I await your
There's this great quote from 2019. Kieran Gillen was at some kind of convention or panel or something with her, and he said, "This is the future of comics." And then he has amended the quote recently to say, "This is the present of comics."
Oh shoot, that's awesome.
He was like, "It may be too much pressure to put on somebody," but then it turned out that I was right. And like, what a cool moment! Like, for her,
absolutely,
for them. I think it's she, her. I could be wrong, but either way, Zoe, great work. Congratulations, you've arrived.
Yeah,
I'll have to read it.
Okay, it is she, her.
Okay.
Like, what a just magical rise. I hope she can maintain and keep up and not buckle under the pressure and not
absolutely
get the PTSD that some folks get from early pressure in their career. But nothing but love. Very much rooting for her.
Yeah. Okay, and, best penciler and inker or penciler and inker team: Jason Shawn Alexander for Philadelphia, Anita Hawes' Nightmare Blog; Alvaro Martinez Bueno for Nice House on the Lake; Sean Phillips for being Sean Phillips; Bruno Redondo for Nightwing; and Greg Smallwood for Human Target. I don't know. I'm saying it's probably going to come down to either Bruno or Greg.
I think so too. Yeah. I've seen some of the art with some of the other listed here. But I mean, I already talked about Human Target, so I'm not gonna, harp on that again. But I think that one just kind of blew a lot of things out of the water that I think was really well done with everything. So I wouldn't be surprised that win. I haven't read Nightwing, but I've seen pages of it, and it's just phenomenal. Now I know this page or this issue isn't considered in the running because it just came out recently, but the POV version that they did where
105
that was genius
for this year, but it would be for next year,
right? Exactly.
The killer of that is that book dropped when the voting period was open.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm just going to throw it out there and say if Bruno doesn't win because of that, I'll be very surprised.
Right.
Because that was in the consciousness of, I'm sure I'm not alone, every voter. Like, oh shit, Bruno is a genius.
Yeah,
Right.
and he is.
And he is, but like that was so far above the previous work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
because
it was at the exact time that you were all
Suicide
voting.
Squad too, as you'll recall.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
But that was not this. This is crazy.
No, that issue was absolutely nuts. Like, what an absolute work of art.
Yeah.
That will be the best single issue Eisner winner of next year.
Absolutely.
That's what I was going to say.
All right, we're running over, so I'm going to run through it a little quickly. Best cover artists for multiple covers. We got Jen Bartel for She-Hulk, which those are some very pretty covers, actually. And Jen Bartel, like, come on, she rules.
Oh, yeah.
Bruno Redondo for Nightwing. Alex Ross for being Alex Ross. Although it's interesting, like, his choices this year was the Astro City one-shot. That was then that came out. Fantastic Four, and then Black Panther, which nobody was reading. So, I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it, but I kind of feel like Alex Ross is not the shoe-in this year that he has been in years past.
Here's my hot take. Alex Ross's art doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I've heard you say that.
I recognize that it's good art.
About this at some point.
Do you have a pulse?
Because I really want to understand where you're coming from, but this isn't the venue. Dana Takeda for Monstrous, and then Zoe Thorogood for Joe Hill's Reign.
Mm-hmm.
Bruno or Jen?
I like Sana Takada as a dark horse.
Okay. I mean, the art, the covers for Monstrous are ridiculously gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
They are really like individual works of art.
Yeah,
but
yeah, they really are.
I could see anybody taking this one.
Okay, yeah.
Toss up. Best
coloring, Jordi Belair, because a year must not go by that Jordi Belair is not nominated. Jean-Francois Beaulieu for I Hate Fairyland. That's an interesting choice.
I like those books, by him and Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of them, but I've never really looked at one, so I can't really speak to. Oh my God, the coloring. Dave McCaig for the Inkel Psychoverse from Humanoids. Jacob Phillips for Follow Me Down, Ghosted You, and That Texas Blood, which, yeah. Alex Ross and Josh Johnson for Fantastic Four Full Circle. And Diana Sousa for Critical Role, Vox Machina Origins, Mighty Nine Origins, more Mighty Nine Origins, and so on and so forth. So I'm not familiar with her.
No.
Jordi Belair is like always nominated, so I'd like
listed here.
Somebody else.
Dave McCaig was also working on the colored versions of The Walking Dead during this time.
That's right. We actually had him on
listed here, but I think it's worth mentioning that enough people know that he was doing that I think Dave McCaig will win.
I think so too, actually. Like, as much as I would personally like Jacob Phillips to win, because I just love that Texas Blood so much, the coloring is not what lures me to that book.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Dave McCaig. And then because we're comic watching, we always want to tout the letterers out there and make sure they get their due. Pat Brosseau for Batman the Knight, Wonder Woman, The Villainy of Our Fears, Creep Show, Dark Ride, I Hate This Place, and Skybound presents After School. Chris Dickey for The Night Eaters, She Eats at Night. Not familiar with that one. Todd Klein, because he's fucking Todd Klein. Nate Picos for Black Hammer Reborn, Minor Threats, Shaolin Cowboy, etc. And then Stan Sakai for Usagi Yojimbo. I don't know.
Thomas Woodruff.
Right, yeah.
Stan Sakai has ever been nominated for lettering before, but I think that's really interesting.
He won last year.
What?
Stan won last year.
Oh, I
Sam
didn't
won
realize.
last year.
Oh, okay.
For
Well, I'm glad-
Yosagi Yojimbo.
I will shut up.
I couldn't tell you who ever won, let alone that he was.
I'm
the
a
winner
little
last
sad
year.
that Hassan Otsmain El How is not on here for existing.
Yeah, Haas should be on here for sure.
Like, that's crazy to me. That dude, I don't know if you guys read Mindset from Vault that he did the lettering on, but it's insane. I've never seen lettering quite like what he's done.
He did amazing work for us on, or for them, I guess now. Archer and Armstrong Forever. Like the lettering was stunning every damn time.
He did the Bloodshot one too, right?
Yeah, the Bloodshot lettering was amazing as well.
Yeah, like
so working with Haas was absolutely fantastic. Actually, every letterer we worked with, Troy Pateri, Dave Sharp, Haas, I think those are the only ones that I actually worked with while I was editing, and they were all just goddamn amazing.
That's awesome. I honestly don't know on this one. Like, with that exclusion, I'm at a loss to guess on this one.
I voted for Pat Brousseau, Drewgate11 on Twitter. He's a homie. He's ultra talented and highly overlooked.
True.
So that was kind of where I landed on that one, because it's tough with letterers, because if they do their job right, you don't really notice them that much.
Yeah.
Like, you notice letterers more when they do their job wrong.
That's true.
So, like, a lot of their art, and I mean, it is absolute artistry, gets lost in translation because you look at it and it looks right. So you don't think about it.
Yeah, I kind of looking at it that way, I kind of feel like that's the Tom Orzechowski curse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tom Orzechowski is one of the great letterers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And often gets forgotten because he's just so good at it.
That man took Claremont scripts and made it work.
It's astonishing. Like, that's so hard to do.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I guess Pat Brousseau or Todd Klein are probably my faves.
Yeah, I was going to say Pat Brousseau is probably mine. What's funny is that the works that they listed for Pat are ones that I didn't review on, but I remember the ones I did review that he did the lettering for were fantastic. So, I found that interesting. But yeah, you know, Pat's lettering has always been top notch. Whenever
absolutely, the guy's just a workhorse,
right? Yep.
So, well, all right, that is it. We've run over our traditional hour. Were we right? Were we wrong? Little column A, little column B. I guess we'll find out tomorrow. Maybe next week.
We'll have it on the site Saturday.
Absolutely, we will. So yeah, go to comic-watch.com this Saturday and check it out for yourself if you want to know. We'll be back next week, Chad. Right?
Next week? I don't think so.
From now. Excuse me, 2 weeks from now. I
know we have Scott Fox coming up sometime in August.
Steve Fox. And
then,
we've got David Pipose coming back for the third time.
Yep. Well, we got to set a day with him, but
he's coming. Committed.
I know he's coming, but I told him I'd give him till after San Diego. So
it's happening. Yeah, whatever. He's not busy at all. So, but yeah, guys, this has been great. I want to keep this going. As you know, I would sit here and just keep doing this with you guys for hours on end, but we all have.
It's not a 2.5 hour episode like we did back in the day.
I know. Part of me misses those, and then part of me cringes so hard. That's because JJ's not here, dude, and you and he aren't drinking and arguing. But anyway, thank you all for listening. Yeah, I say this every time, and I feel like maybe it gets a little more true each week that I rehash it. But it can be a crappy world out there, but it doesn't have to be. Get out there, do a random act of kindness for somebody, somebody you don't know, somebody, whoever. Read something good, support your local comic shop, and above all, just don't be a dick. Okay. Until next time, we are the Comic Watchers, and this is our show. We are actually going to Acast, right, Sean? For audio only.
Yeah, well, that's where we're going to host it, but then we're going to try to push it out to like the major ones like Apple Podcasts and Spotify
so
and all that.
We're actually getting back to audio only, thank goodness. So it's coming, and you can't stop us. We're back, and we're beautiful. So till next time.